Hey, Rusey.
Howdy.
Mike, are we allowed to look at this? We're here today in Alliance, Ohio. We'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Mr. Connie himself, his business, his pulling team, and most importantly, talk about his upcoming event, the Mack Winter Nationals, April 1st in Louisville, Kentucky. My name is Chase Richardson. I'm working with the team at Full Pull Bets.
And so we decided to take the top 5 from NTPA, top 5 from PPL, and bring those together for the largest payout. The winner takes all. And we're looking forward to packing the stadium and raising some money for Make-A-Wish.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Full Pull Bets.
I'm all in. I'm 100% in. And I think this is one of the best things that ever happened to Portland.
We're going to hit you with the diesel burning questions. Mike Connie's in a pull-off with one other vehicle. Who is the one guy Mike Connie does not want to see in a pull-off?
Okay, super stock. I would put my money on.
Join us as we take a dive into the world of Mike Connie.
Thank you, buddy.
Here comes Hammer and Hank.
Welcome to Beer Money Pulling Team. Sit down, shut up, and hang on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Grow Pulling. It's Monday, March 27th. We're going to bring Ken Veney on in about 15 after the hour. Right now, we're joined by Tracy. Tracy is the promoter of the Diecast toy shows in Decorah, Iowa this weekend. If you remember, we had Tracy on about a month and a half ago. You did one in Des Moines, right, Tracy?
Yep, we did one in the first weekend in January.
That's right. And then we also have James on from the Glenwood RC Pullers as well. They're going to be part of the show as well. So, Tracy, tell us kind of what's happening this weekend. And then I'll put the banner up on the screen if that helps everybody. So,
okay. Yep. Behind me, you're seeing a picture of last year's show in Decorah. They built a great new building at the Winneshiek County Fairgrounds last year, and we were thrilled to be the first official event in there last year. And we're back there again this year, and we're going to be there again next year. We'll be there on Saturday, April 1st. So just a few days away. We've got a lot of work going to get ready for this event, but we're really excited to be back there again. We have a great bunch of dealers coming in, so we're real excited. We have even more tables rented out this year. We are maximizing the capacity of that 16,000 square foot building they built.
That's awesome. It looks really big. Is this a lot bigger than the Des Moines show you had?
It's a little bit bigger, yeah. They've got a little bit more storage, and then what we're going to use this year, and James Group is going to use, they also have an outdoor covered patio that we are going to make use of at the show this time. So we're going to use the entire space.
That's awesome. That's awesome. James, when are we going to be doing your RC pulling again?
We're going
Can you hear us?
be up there doing polls. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
We'll be up there Saturday doing the polls. Hopefully have polls start about 9 o'clock. We're going to have another club from Northeast Iowa that's going to be up a few of their members joining us, bringing up some of their RC pullers. So it'll be a fun time up there.
That's awesome. Tracy, what aspect did the RC pulling add to your show in Des Moines in January?
We pretty much had, the entire time that James and his awesome group of people were there, for both days, we had people constantly checking it out. We had kids and adults trying it out. I might have tried out, and I need some practice.
Did you break anything?
I have to try it again on Saturday and see if I could do a little better this time.
Yeah. Did you break anything? Did you break
I'm sorry,
anything?
what?
Did you break anything?
I didn't break anything, but I do believe I ran into the wall.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'd say, Charles, if you didn't break anything, you're not trying hard enough. So
No, and I saw plenty of guys who ran into the walls at RC Pull-In on Saturday.
yep.
Yeah.
You were out. You saw one out in Ohio, right?
I did, yes.
That's pretty cool. Was that like a big nationals, or where was that at? What was that?
It was a big national deal at for the NRCTPA group at Montpelier, Ohio. 2 tracks. They had monster trucks and the RC demo derby. It was cool to check out. First time I've seen anything like that, and really enjoyed it.
Cool. Jason Latch is coming on Saturday. So yeah, that's good. Jason, he's somewhere in Iowa, isn't he, Ryan?
I believe so.
Jason, let us know where you're coming from. Tracy, what's the farthest a vendor comes to set up at one of your toy shows like this?
We have the very northern tip of Minnesota. We have Nebraska. We have Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, all over Iowa. So we bring in people from all over the Midwest.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a toy show and a diecast toy show? I know I asked you that last time, but if you could explain that to me again.
Well, we deal with, I guess what it comes down to really, because, we get more stuff than just diecast there. Mainly, we focus on quality metal toys. Whether that be your farm toys, your construction toys, your cars, your trucks, your NASCAR, your semis, things that, have collectability to them, that have nostalgia of how they were made back in the 50s to, current production stuff. So there's just a huge range of things. I kind of always say it's, whatever's on wheels is probably going to show up at our show. And most of our dealers focus on metal toys because you have a little bit better quality when you're talking about those toys than you do some of the plastic stuff that's out there today in the big box stores. What we sell at this show, you don't see in the big box stores. You need to come to dealers like me or come to shows like what I'm putting on to really see a huge breadth just there's an amazing amount of stuff. When you just start looking around, there's a huge variety of toys out there if you just know where to look.
I know before we went live, I told you that there's always an NTPA truck and tractor pull at the grandstands at the Winneshiek County Fairgrounds. How close is the building you're in to the grandstands that I'm used to coming to see?
A couple 100 feet.
Okay, so it's all right there on the ground?
Yes.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Charles is putting up some RC pullers right there, and he got some pictures from in Ohio this past weekend. So for those of you that want to come, and James, you have them set up so the kids can drive them or anybody can drive them, right?
Yep. We'll have a couple up there that the kids can play around with and try out their skills, or the adults more than welcome to test out skills. Like with Michael, I started to kind of give the kids a little more something to do in our area than sit on their phones and play videos all day.
Well, I sit on my phone a lot too, James. I look at Facebook and TikTok and Instagram a lot. So I have an RC puller almost done. That's what they told me anyway. So excited for that. Yes. What group, James, in Iowa is helping you, or they're coming to the show to help you bring some vehicles this weekend?
Let me pull that up here real quick for you.
Again, if you're just joining us, you got Tracy, the promoter of the 3rd Annual Northeast Iowa Diecast Toy Show. This Saturday, April 1st, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Winneshiek County Fairgrounds in Decorah, Iowa. That is the fairgrounds. It's $4 to get in for adults. Is it $2 ages 13 to 17, and children 12 and under free. 16,000 square feet. And if you see that, I'll make Tracy big on the screen. That is a picture from last year's show behind you, right, Tracy?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So
they have a great balcony area for me to take pictures from.
Right.
So
I want to get a green screen now. This is pretty cool. So that's pretty neat. Charles, is that something you can help me with, or Brent or Cody?
I prefer natural background.
Natural background. Natural background. James, did you find that group that's coming?
Yes, it's going to be the Northeast Iowa RC Pullers that's coming up to join us on Saturday.
Awesome. And then, are you going to be? How close are you going to be? Are you going to be outside, or do you know exactly where you're going to be?
He's going to be out on the patio.
Okay.
To the building. It's part of the building. It's in addition to the 16,000 square feet. So basically, there's a hallway that you walk right past the restrooms, right out onto that patio area, and everything is covered, so people don't have to, in case it does rain, you're under protection for the whole thing.
Awesome. We have a question, Tracy. What is the rarest diecast toy you've ever seen at a show?
Oh.
And how much? I want to be like, what's those guys? The guys from Iowa that go around and find the collectibles. What's their
American Pickers?
American Pickers, yeah.
Have you ever met the American Pickers, Tracy?
I have not. I haven't watched that show for a while, but I have a few times in the past.
You want to start a new series, Tracy? We'll follow you around with cameras from Diecast Toy Show to Diecast Toy Show.
Yeah, in my spare time.
Yeah, I mean, we all got no time, but we can sound like fun.
Yeah, running a store, website, 2 toy shows. I can, travel. I love to travel. That'd actually be kind of fun.
All right, let's.
As far as rare, wow. That is so hard to pick one. I'll be honest. I've seen, some amazing old Buddy L stuff. I've seen some amazing old Tonka stuff. I've seen amazing Ertl stuff that's rare. I guess I really like unique old rare toys. I have to admit, at the show, if somebody brings in a Big Bud 747 in 1/16 scale, it gets a lot of views. People like to see stuff like that. Even if they're not there to buy it, they want to look at it.
Exactly. What's something like that go for?
Oh, they've went up significantly in price. You're talking at least $2,000 just for a regular one. Signature editions go for even more.
Wow.
I know. I look back, and when we bought them, gosh, almost 20 years ago now, I really wish I had stashed some away. I kept one for myself. I've never opened it. Still in a sealed box, but I wish I'd stashed a lot more of them away.
Nice. You have a regular store, right, Tracy?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Where's that at?
That is in Claremont, Iowa. It's a little town on Highway 18 in Iowa. We're about half an hour south of Decorah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nice.
How has the internet changed your the toy show and the sales and all that? How's that changed that?
I've always had a website. I actually started off as website only 20 years ago. And it wasn't until 2010 that I added a brick and mortar function to what I do. I used to have a store in Des Moines, actually right next to the State Fairgrounds, which is kind of how I got started doing a toy show down there and continue to do that. When I chose to move everything to Northeast Iowa to be closer to my family, I knew that things were going to change a little bit. In Des Moines, I had a lot more walk-in traffic, which meant I had less time to work on website, less products on the website, more in the store. Coming up to Northeast Iowa, I knew I was going to flip-flop that. So now I have over 4,000 items on the website, which are all in the store also. But it made me kind of expand my web presence coming here. But surprisingly, I still get more foot traffic from people far away up here than I expected. For anybody that's traveled through Northeast Iowa, you know that you don't get anywhere quick. All the roads are curvy and hilly, and it's beautiful, but it takes some perseverance to get to places. And to come see me is a little out of the way.
Every 5 miles, you take a left or you take a right. It's all gridded out. Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. There are no straight roads in this part of the country.
No.
No.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I was just looking at my phone, Tracy. Sorry
That's
about
right.
that.
That's right.
Again, Tracy's coming on tonight. She's promoting the 3rd annual Northeast Iowa Diecast Toy Show this Saturday, April 1st, in Decorah, Iowa, at the Winneshiek County Fairgrounds right there. And again, 16,000 square feet, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you have any questions, you go to her Facebook page, Iowa Diecast Toy Show. I'll put that in the comments right now for you, for everybody that's looking for that.
Yeah. And up on that page, just so people know, I've been putting up pretty much daily posts the entire month, giving some information about specific dealers that are going to be at the show and the types of things that they've told me they're bringing, including a lot of pictures from last year's show. So it'll really give you a good idea of what we're going to have available.
I love it. I love it. Well, Tracy, thanks for coming on tonight. James, thanks for bringing the RC pullers to the show. That's really, really cool because it's really good for the kids and for the big kids alone. We got a lot of cool video from when they did that down in Des Moines. That was really neat. Thank you for doing that.
And we typically actually see more children in the Decorah show than we do Des Moines. So get ready, James.
I like it. I like it.
All right.
Tracy?
Looking forward to it. That's my old stomping grounds.
Yep.
Good deal. Good deal. Tracy, thanks for coming on tonight. James, thanks for coming tonight. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Have a great show.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. You too, Jason.
Hi, guys. Guess who's sitting in the green room? Take a guess, Charles. Take a guess.
I already know, so bring it.
Brent, guess.
No one would know without social media, I guess, huh?
I want to thank Marty Wilson for setting this up, but we are bringing on the legendary Ken Veney. Obviously, this is going to be a blast. Please put your questions, comments in there. We have literally, Charles and I uploaded so many photos. Our system actually says we can't upload any more photos. So without further ado, Ken Veney. Holy crap, he's on Let's Grow Pulling. Can you believe this, guys?
I'll see what's going on.
Ken, can you hear us?
There we are.
There we go. Ken, how are you tonight, sir?
Okay.
Hey, we're doing just fine, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for doing this. What is that a Keith? Show me your coat. That is the coolest coat I've ever seen, Ken. What's that patch?
The coat? Oh, that's Keith Black.
Wow.
You want a Keith Black story?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right
I want to hear
dive
about
right
you, Keith Black, and a dynamometer. I was told to ask you that.
Yes.
Keith Black and a I don't know which one you'd want to hear about.
All of them.
The Keith.
All of them.
Here's
Just
the
start
Keith
at the
Black
top.
story. Should I? Okay, go ahead. We'll start over. Go ahead. Ask me a question.
No, Ken. This is your show. You can say
that's
anything.
it. You're on it. A Keith Black story, and one about a dyno.
What about a dyno? I don't know what I'm not sure what you want to know about a dyno.
Well, I was fed that question, but go ahead and give us anything about Keith Black.
What about Keith Black? Keith Black was a great guy. He was a very religious guy, never said a swear word, never did anything like that, treated everyone exactly the same. If you was a beginner, like when I first knew him, or if you was Don Gartlitz, it didn't make any difference. He treated everyone the same. Great guy. And the story about this jacket is film. You know, I think there was
Jason, I think you're muted.
Guys, we tested this today at noon, and it was perfect internet. I promise you. It
happens.
It's the damn Russians. It's the damn Russians, Charles. It's the Russians. It's those weather balloons flying over Wadsworth, Ohio, way in the air. Okay. Well, here. Should I just let him spin for a second, guys, and then put some pictures up?
Yeah, we'll have to. We can't do anything else till he comes back.
Okay. Charles, do you want to start pounding through them and talking about them, or? Damn it! Yeah, oh, he's back. I think he's back. Dang it! Ken Veney, our hero. Oh, shoot! What's going on? Is he muted, guys?
No, I don't think
He must be.
He's not on our end.
Not on our end.
Terry, can you hear us? I'll text her.
Why don't you just call her?
Okay.
Make that easier.
I'm afraid she's on his phone, though.
Oh.
Or I think, well, hold on. Charles, can you kind of start flipping through some photos?
Yes, sir. Sure can. Bear with me.
I'm going to text Terry. Where you at, Terry?
Sorry, had to.
No, I get it.
For those of you who don't know the backstory and Ken, he was very successful in the sport of pulling, and he had a very early start in it with a mini rod back in the early 1980s. But where he really got his start was on the quarter mile track racing, and did a whole lot of very good things as a driver, and was one of at the time he retired in 1985, he was the 7th winningest driver in NHRA national competition. That's the level of guy that we're talking with tonight. And even when he left the driver's seat, he went on to a very, very successful crew chief. A lot of guys did he was probably through the later 80s, through the 90s, early 2000s. He was every bit the contemporary of Dale Armstrong as a crew chief on the Nitro ranks. And I think he won something like 11 titles with different drivers over the years. This guy,
I don't know. We can't hear him. Are you using the exact
good.
same phone that you used earlier today and everything?
In that side of the sport as well. And really cemented his legacy in a lot of different halls of fame for his exploits doing that. And that we were able to capture him and have him be a part of the sport of sled pulling and win as many championships as he did. I mean, I can't tell you how thankful I am to have had the time that we did with this man being a part of our sport. There's people who have taken time to find his old funny cars, not so much as Firebird that I know of. Some of his old Vinny's Vega, they've been restored and or recreated for nostalgia use and whatnot. And we're blessed to have him be in this sport. Let's see what we got here. Can you guys hear us?
Yep. No, she's trying to unmute it.
Charles. Yeah, so am I. I think we're both trying to unmute it together.
Yeah, let her just do it. Everybody stop.
All right. Yep.
Nobody help her. Terry, go ahead. One more time. There. Oh, what the heck is going on? We have the most famous person in the world on our show ever, and we can't make it work. I want to cry. So
it's like it unmutes and then it mutes.
Oh.
We're gonna get through this. We're gonna do the Steve Blagrave.
Yeah, let's try it. Try your mom's phone, Terry. That's fine. Charles, keep yakking. Sorry, buddy.
All right, you're good. No, I'm gonna mute you and them, and we'll just keep going. Ken got tied in with some of the best top fuel teams in the sport. Worked with the Gwynns, particularly Daryl, And unfortunately, after Daryl's injury and a match race deal over in England, then worked with Mike Dunn. I want to hear his thoughts on Daryl, on Mike Dunn. Mike became one of the, I would say, the best color commentator on TV drag racing that there is, and because he didn't pull any punches, he was no bullshit. And I want to think that maybe he brought some of that to the driver's seat as Jim Dunn's son. And of course, Jim's been around the sport since forever. It's a family that's just been there, done that. Both the Dunns and Ken and Rona. Any of you guys also have any stories as I flip through some of these photos? Please jump in and chime in with anything you got. The triple mod that he came out with, that thing appeared, I want to say 2001, 2002 timeframe, and just was dominant for 7 or 8 years and just astounded everyone who ever saw it. And what he was able to accomplish with that triple. Numerous times he would sell the engines off this thing to other guys in the mod class. Jack Kilmeyer, for one, bought engines secondhand for another season off of Ken Veney and did well as well. Super cool to have been there for what that tractor represented.
What was so different about it?
Him, honestly, him. That was something else I want to ask him about when we get to it. I don't have a photo that can substantiate this, but something that was different about this tractor when it came out. The front two engines were crank to crank, which is not new. But what was that they were in a tubular like subframe that connected them and stiffened them. I'd never seen that on a mod tractor, and I've seen it since. I've seen it applied to super stocks, and I'm interested what led to that particular development as far as the chassis setup goes.
Presume it probably had something to do with flex or twist in the chassis. But
yeah, I think.
Yeah, I want to hear it from him too.
I do too. Like I think like we went through a phase there where like having them twist up and having the flex was desired, and now we've landed back in a place where rigid as you can make it is what works. Maybe Ken was onto that way before anybody else.
I think we're back, Charles.
All right.
Ken, can you hear us?
I sure can.
Oh, praise Jesus.
Let's get a new question. I don't know what the thing Keith Black Dyno was all about, so let's try again. Something else.
It's all good. So something I wanted to ask you about, and we talked about it years ago, you and I did, because you're really the only one who has done this. Your mini rod header design. What led to that, and what makes it work for you?
Well, I don't know that. I really don't know if it helps anything. It's just that so many minis all look alike. I just wanted to do something different. And that, like the way I've got the headers on my tractor, I mean, the exhaust, instead of being 4 of them in a row, I just have more air coming out in the front. And maybe this dyno, I don't know what the dyno thing was. Who asked about the dyno?
I'm gonna burn a bridge here with you'll know who when I say
do it.
I was told to ask you about by Dusty Price.
What about Dusty Price?
He was the one who told me to ask you about that.
Oh, I don't know. Well, here's one thing that I know. All the exhaust coming out of the cylinders, coming out of the headers have force. But all the tractors have them going up anyway. And the only thing that, you know, like I could think about when we ran it on the dyno, you know, it had tremendous pressure. About, you know, I walked in back of the exhaust when the guy opened the throttle that was running the dyno before we were supposed to, about blew me down. So, you know, that would be the only thing I'd know about that dyno. But I run, I mean, I've always used headers to do different things. When I wanted to, when I was hooking up good and I need to keep the front end down, you know, I have different cars through the years where I turned the headers more straight up and down. Or when I wanted to, the car was hooking good and I just wanted the force going, you know, to push it forward, I laid them way back. And outside of that, but see, all the tractors have all their headers, you know, going up in the air anyway. The main reason I did it, I wanted something different because I don't think all these little minis should look so much alike. But I mean, we all have exhaust pressure pushing down, and I mean, this may help hold my front end down a little bit. I don't know. If I had it to do over again, I would have done the same thing just to have it different, you know, just to make it different than everyone else's. That's all. And I don't know what else to say about that.
That's totally fair. So would you say that there was definitely something to a few years ago, particularly NHRA, the funny car classes, when they were laying the pipes back and running those big speeds, there was something to it.
Right. They have all that tremendous pressure when there's, like I said, when they're pointed more up in the air, it has downforce on the car, it hooks harder. But when you lay them back more out through the middle of the track, when you're not relying on the header pressure so much, it'll definitely make it go faster. And if you've seen all these pictures of my different cars, you would see headers laid back. I'll give you a good example. Like, I built my own chassis in those days, and I always built my own headers, and I always laid the headers back. So I had a sponsor, Craig, you know, I had a bunch of, but Krieger was a sponsor, and they sponsored me with blower drive and headers and a whole bunch of things. Well, I never ran their headers. I just always made my own. Well, in 1973, I ran injected nitromethane, and I mean, it was extremely powerful deal. And so I didn't care about the thrust. I was more concerned about it hooking it up. And I put these headers on from Krieger because they stood up straighter. And I ran that thing the whole year running in injected nitro. And then the following year, I went to run blown alcohol. I was going to run a supercharged alcohol Chevrolet. And I had the headers laid back like I always did, one tube laying on the other one. So they were laid back about as far as you could do it. And I go to Phoenix to the AHRA Winter Nationals. And I stood this thing up, and I stood it up like 2 or 3 times. And finally, the last time I stood the front end up trying to get off the starting line, I come crashing down and I bent my headers. And I took those laid back headers off and put regular headers on and went right down the track. How's that sound?
It's yep. Part of it. So back in those days, you know, you referenced what you did back in the Pro Comp days. You and I think Dale Armstrong kind of teamed up a little bit. The rules would change every week. Is that what led you two guys to be really so good in what you continue to do within the sport?
Well, the way that all came about is when they first come along with Pro Comp, we had to race dragsters against funny cars.
Yep.
Okay. Well, naturally, the dragster is going to be more consistent, and when the tracks aren't so good, they're much better. Well, the thing that made it really bad is we had the same weight, pounds per cubic inch. So it was really a pretty unfair thing. And I said to this very good friend of mine, Kenny Cox, I said, you know, that is a bunch of crap. I said, you know, if I built a dang dragster like my funny car, it should be a butt kicker. You know, like one of those pictures you might have there that they sent you, would be best engineered car at the 73 World Finals. So I said, if I take, and that was injected nitro, and if I take that same setup and put it in a dragster, so that guy said, I'll tell you what, you build the motor and, drive the thing, and I'll supply the chassis. You can just give me back the chassis when we're through racing. So he built the chassis, and it got down to the first race, and I had both of these cars trying to get them together. And I thought, like my funny car is really fast. It's a dirty shame that, I asked Armstrong, you want to drive this thing for me? There's the best engineered car at the 73 or World Final. See how the headers are shooting up in the air? That's the only car I ever ran with the headers going up in the air. But anyway, I said to Armstrong, why don't, we were both good friends. Both of us lived in Torrance, and that's Torrance, California. And I said, why don't you drive my funny car? I want to drive that dragster. That should be the butt kicker. And then it came right down to it a few days before. And I said, well, rather than me learn how to drive the dragster and you learn how to drive my funny car, you drive my funny car, or I'll drive the funny car and you drive the dragster. And that's where the Veney and Armstrong came from. And then 1974, was it? Yes. Well, in 74, then he was driving the dragster and I was driving the funny car, and it wound up at the Winter Nationals 1974 at Pomona. Like both of us wound up in the final, and it just happened to be I owned both cars, and it was the second time that one person owned both cars in the final round. And then of all the bad luck, my own car beat me. I mean, the dragster that Armstrong was driving, he won and I was runner up. And so I hadn't, anyway, he won his first NHRA national event driving my car. And then I didn't win one until 1975 at Englishtown, New Jersey. But anyway, it was, I only had that dragster because I loved the funny cars, but I had that dragster to prove how much better the dragster was than the funny car. And then about 1981, I think it was 81, they split the two classes up. They had dragsters and funny cars. So anyway, that's that story. Where'd we come from? We come from the direction of headers.
Yeah, we came a long way. We sure did. You've always had a reputation as being a Hemi guy. But what's the most obscure in your mind engine you ever ran in any of the drag cars?
The Ford.
The Ford.
The Ford 351 Cleveland. I thought that might be where you'd go.
Yeah, that was that all came about from 1974 when I had that injected fuel dragster that Dale Armstrong drove. That was with a Chevy, and on nitromethane, a Hemi is definitely better. And, maybe a little bit, but anyway, that could be better. And so a guy, Dave Settles, a good racer, he put together a car just like I had, only with a Hemi engine. So I quit racing at the end of 1976 because there was only 9 NHRA national events, and we'd won 6 of them. And I thought, you can't do any better than that, And I was still broke, so I figured there ain't no need in doing that. And I bought me a truck and I started hauling steel. And then I discovered that the old saying about the worst day at your job or the worst day at the races is still better than the best day at your job. So in 1977, then I just went back to racing. And when the National Dragster, the publication for NHRA, when they found out I was going racing again, they had a little piece in there, and they knew I was going to run an A-field dragster, only this time I was going to run a Hemi. And they said that they put a little article in there, Ken Veney going to run a A-field dragster just like Dave Settles. And I read that and I said, no, that ain't going to happen. Kenny Veney never did anything because someone else did it. I said, I'd build a Ford before I do that. And then I got thinking, maybe I will build a Ford. So I built that little Cleveland, which it had to cut the magneto. The distributor had to cut it off so that the blower could fit there, and run the ignition off the end of the cam out the front of the motor, and had a little belt to run the fuel pump, and I bought flat top Chevrolet pistons and cut valve pockets in it because they didn't make a low compression piston for that 351 Cleveland. Anyway, then we ran that thing. We ran that thing in 1977, and it did pretty good. We were runner up at Indy in that class in Pro Comp 1977 at Indy. There was 108 cars in the class, and it happened that Armstrong qualified number 1, and I was number 2 out of 108 cars. And then we went to the final, and it was him and I in the final. But my little Ford had cracked a block, so I didn't even run it in the final. But anyway, I just did it for something different, and we had to run it for a little bit to get it all sorted out. But that was always kind of my thing. I didn't care what kind of engine it was. I just like, designing things and building things and trying to figure out how to do it, and that's it. So that's why I had that Ford. But then that was 77 and 78. I went back to running the alcohol funny car. And the only reason I quit racing Chevys back in 74 was I couldn't keep the block together. The thing made so much power, just pull the main webs out of the block. So I went to a Hemi because they made that Keith Black Hemi was a lot stronger than the stock Chevrolet. So I built this Hemi, and it ran pretty dang good. And after about halfway through 78, it would have been, I cracked the cylinder head. And I was so, I didn't have any money, and I borrowed a crankshaft and a block and built this chassis, and I was out there with no money racing this car. And I cracked the cylinder head, and I called the manufacturer, and I said, I know it's a racing part, but this thing cracked it right through the solid part of the head where it could have had an extra spark plug. That seems like that's not the way it should be. And the guy said, you send me that head and send me enough money to ship it back to you, and I'll look at that head. And I said, never mind. And then I tried all around to get aluminum that could be stronger than what those heads are made out of, 6061. And finally, I got a hold of this guy who knew at Chrysler that was a metallurgist, and I said, what could we come up with that, is there a better casting in that? And he goes, not that I know of, but I'll check around. A few days later, he called back, and he goes, nope, they just don't, 6061 heat treated 356, that's as good a metal as you could get for a cylinder head. God dang it. I'm getting confused here. Like what they're casting those heads out of.
Right.
It's the best thing that you could use. And he said the only thing that could be better is if the head was made out of a solid plate. But I don't know how you would ever do that. So.
You took up that challenge, didn't you?
Yes, I took up that challenge, and I spent about half of the summer designing this head and manifold, and made a pair of heads and a manifold, and then went back to racing. And the first race that we ran at after I got it done was Bowling Green, Kentucky, the sports or the points meet they have at Bowling Green, Kentucky in August. And the first run that I made with it, getting after it, like I was trying to do good, not just seeing if it's going to make it down the track, going out there and running it. And it set the mile per hour record in this crummy air. I mean, just all humid and yucky. And so the next weekend was U.S. Nationals, and Jerry Gwynn come up to me and said, you ran 214 miles an hour at Bowling Green? I go, yeah, I did. And so he said, make me a set. And then Joe Amato goes, I want some. And then old Don Gerardo, he goes, I got to have a set of those. And before the dang race was over, I had 6 guys wanted heads. So I bought a used Bridgeport and started making heads. See, the heads I made that thing on, I didn't even own it. I used to work at this guy's shop at night when no one was there. I'd just go in and work on the mill. And then in the daytime, they would use it in his business, and then I'd use it at night. So I bought a used Bridgeport for $2,200. In that winter, I spent all winter, and I made the 6 sets of heads, and I don't know how many thousands. I don't even know how many we've made since then, but many thousands. And the only reason I quit doing it, you didn't ask me a question. Should I keep going?
No, yes, absolutely, keep going. But I do. We're going to continue with the cylinder head story. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, like when I was running alcohol, like blowing alcohol, funny cars and dragsters and that, like we had just stacks of alcohol customers, whether it be, we had a few tractor pullers, but not very many. It was almost all alcohol funny cars. And then when I quit running alcohol and went to nitromethane, then my alcohol funny car kind of was phasing out. And then I built, Gene Snow and Kenny Bernstein and Billy Meyer. And, I built all these. I was the main builder of heads on fuel cars, because I ran my own fuel funny car in such a NHRA national record at 254 mile an hour. And so then we just started selling those things. And then as everything progresses, as we know, and like a lot of the fuel funny car guys, they bought their own their own CNC machines and started making their own heads. So we happened to be old Brian Knox said, you ought to go to tractor pull. I bet you'd like that. And I went to a tractor pull, and I thought, yeah, that was pretty neat. When I quit racing, I think I'll do that. And so we kind of started selling stuff to Brian Knox, and the first thing you know, we was in the tractor pulling thing. And we built all this tractor pulling stuff. Like last year we had Joe Eder in who won the modified thing? Brett
Seacrest?
No, Brett Berg in modified, and then Seacrest in there in the blown out, the 2-wheel drive truck. So we had a pretty big business in in the pulling. And then I got the dang I got the cancer pretty bad in my bladder and prostate and all this. And they had these things that they were going to do to me and take all the stuff out of me. And I just said, November of 21, I said, guys, we've been doing this. And I had one guy that worked for me for 42 years. I said, we're going to quit doing this, because I don't know what kind of shape I'm going to be after I get this operation. And it's just time to, 82 years old, it's time to hang this deal up. So we quit making heads in November, and we quit taking in repairs. And then I had all these operations, and when it was all said and done, plus the retina came unhooked for my eye, so I only had one eye, and I had macular degeneration. It was all these things adding up, and it was so many things. It's like, maybe I'm not supposed to do this anymore. Maybe I've done this long enough, and it's just time to quit. So anyway, we quit, and I didn't want to completely get away from it. So I run my little mini, and I love the big tractor. I love the unlimited, even though I only ran the unlimited 1 year. But the modifieds and the unlimiteds, I really liked them, but it was too hard to work on it. And I try and do everything myself, and climbing all over that thing. I was like 75 years old or whatever when I quit running that unlimited. It was just too hard for me to do. And I didn't want to have to rely on friends to help me. That's kind of hard on friendship. And So I said, let's build a Mini. You know, well, we're not going to build it because I've never built a Mini, and I wouldn't know how to build a thing better than someone else. So we just bought a Mini chassis, and that way my wife and I could do this on our own. And she'd been involved with me for when I first ran a funny car, 1970. Yeah, 1970. She's been with me at everything since then. She goes to, if I'm driving, she's there. And she missed a few, like when I tuned Daryl Gwynn's and Mike Dunn's and that Brotherton, Frank Colley, when I was crew chief on their fuel cars, there was like, she wouldn't always go to that. But if I was doing it, if it was something I was driving, she was always there. And this would be a way that her and I could do something together. Between the two of us, we could run this Mini. And I went out with just attitude that I've never had before, which was let's go and have a good time. I think we can have a good time. We don't have to win. We can go and just enjoy ourselves. And that lasted about 3 years. And then it was like, this is a bunch of hooey. You know, like I always had this saying, we don't go to the dang drag race unless we're going there to win. If we're not going there to win, there's no need in going. So the first thing, you know, I got that way in my Mini. It was like, you know, I started designing different camshafts. You know, I was just upping the horsepower, you know, doing stuff to it. And you know, I kind of really liked that little Mini. It was a good time. Well, I'll tell you a little story. Like this kid comes up to me. He's maybe 7, 8 years old. I don't know, 10. I'm not sure. He comes up to me and he goes, Mr. Veney, what would the most exciting thing you ever drove? Would it be the Mini or the unlimited tractor? And I go, it'd be a AA fuel funny car. And the little kid didn't know what to say. And I said, oh, I'm just joking. I'm teasing you. I said, I love driving them all. It doesn't make any difference. I started driving on the streets when I was 12 years old. And I've been doing it ever since. I just seen a picture go by there, my funny car at Indy. And the body all caved in and everything. Well, cars had never gone as fast speed-wise as I was going, and it was just caving the body in. You know,
you had several national records to your credit.
I'll tell you, I hope this is the only thing that I say that it's like bragging, but at one time or another, like I had the fastest or quickest car in every category that I raced in, except 2. And let's see. The Ford Dragster never held a record, but it did win. It won 3 points meets in a national event. But yeah, everything I ever had was at some time or another while I owned the car and drove the car, it set the national record. So yeah, we did good there. I hope that don't sound like too much bragging, but
it isn't bragging if you back it up, and you sure did.
Yeah, well. Anyway.
When you started doing cylinder heads on your own and were able to push them so hard, was it just metallurgy that let you do that, or was it a design?
No. The metal, the billet, the plate of aluminum that I made it out of was just so much stronger. It's just that when you're sitting there and you're looking at a 115-pound chunk of aluminum, and you're going to make that into a 40-pound cylinder head, and you don't have any CNC equipment. That's a pretty big dang project. But let's see, the casting heads were only made from castings. You know, where you heat the metal up and you pour it. And like when I first made them, I thought I was going to have to sell this thing. And I knew guys at the local foundry, and I said, pour me a couple pieces of aluminum, you know, just pour it and let it run out, and say like in the neighborhood a 1/4 inch thick. And then I took these pieces and I milled them 2 inches wide. And then when I went to the races, when I thought I was going to have to sell one of these things, like I would take that piece of aluminum, that casting, and I tell a guy, here, break this over your knee. And he could take that 2 inch wide, 1/4 inch thick cast aluminum, just like you would make a cylinder head out of, and break it over his knee or over the tailgate on your truck or whatever. And you take that piece of 1/4 inch 6061 aluminum, like I made the first heads out of. Well, still make the heads out of them. And you couldn't bend that son of a gun. You could jack the. I mean, no matter what you did, you could not physically with your hands bend it. And where if you could just break that piece of casting, and that's why I made it. I mean, I quit running a Chevy because a Chevy wouldn't hold up. Chevys actually, on blown alcohol, Chevys in those days, 1974, they were a better blown alcohol motor due to their combustion chamber. They were a better motor than the Hemi. It took a while. It took a while to ever make my Hemi engine in the same alcohol funny car run as good as that Chevy. But once I got it figured out how to run a Hemi, then it could withstand it, the power, and I could just keep building power. But when I had that Chevy, I was limited to how much power I could make. In the same way, when I had that cast stock head, I could only make so much power because the head would crack. And that, like, I guarantee that if I would have never made a billet head, someone else would have come along and done it after I did. Or, someone else would have done it anyway. But it's the fact of the matter is, if you got 11,000 horsepower top fuel car, it's made just like I made my first head. And you couldn't do, cars couldn't run even nowhere close to what they run now if it wasn't for a billet head. But what I'm saying is someone else would have done the same thing eventually. It was just that I did it. It wasn't even practical when I did it, with all that stuff doing it by hand. But if you want to race bad enough and you want to kick some butt, you just, like, one of the things I used to do is I used to work every other night, all night. I'd work all day and all night and all day the next day, and then take that night off. And then I'd work all day and all night, because I did so much of it myself. I just had to, that's what I had to do to go racing. Nowadays, like, you have an alcohol funny car, you buy a motor from this guy, a chassis from this guy, a fueling system from that guy. You buy all these parts and bolt them together, and away you go. Like 50 years ago, it was like ingenuity, was played a bigger part than money. You could have a lot of money, but the guys that beat their head against the wall trying, they're the ones that did the best. But,
yeah, you've been quoted as saying that it was never about the financial piece. It was about doing what the other guy couldn't, and you would outwork them, and you'd find a way. And you certainly have proven that you did.
See what I did? Like, this telephone is sitting here, just to hold it up is a fuel pump. And it was a fuel pump that I designed in 1982. But people didn't even know they needed that fuel pump yet. And people didn't even know they needed a billet head or like the injector spacers. Like, I made all kinds of things, and people didn't know, they didn't even know they needed them yet. And so I just came up with it and made it. And my wife would say, God, how can you come up with this stuff? How could you think it? And I'd have to tell her, you know what? Maybe there's, from time to time, I can figure things out that other people can't, but you know what? I can't read. I pick up a book and try and read. I can't concentrate long enough to know what I ever read on that page. It'd be like, I start halfway down through it, and I have so many thoughts run through my head that I don't know what I read. So just because I can think of things to do, with motors and stuff like that, chassis, that isn't anything. That just makes me a blessed person because I can do what I like to do and I just happen to be good at it. But everyone has that, no matter who you are. I don't care if you're a farmer or whatever it is that you might be. I know that there's something about each person that's better than other people. So I don't feel like in any way that I have been able to do things that is a lot better. I just happen to have a knack for it, and I love doing it. So, like I tell my wife, she's a school teacher, and I tell her, you can read all that, you can buzz down across that page 4 times faster than I can. You'll know everything you read. And I can't, I'll go through that son of a gun. I'll have to read that damn same page 3 times till I get it. I can't, in other words, I can't concentrate. My mind is off on a dang wheel or something. I'm just thinking about something else, and it happens to be engines and stuff like that. It's stuff that I like. I like doing it.
You definitely were one of those guys who thinks about what's going on. And something that I noticed on one of your pulling tractors early on, this goes back to your triple, was that the front 2 engines, crank to crank, that was not unique, but they were in like a cradle, a subframe. I think they were the first guy ever to see do that.
Probably.
What were you after with doing that?
Well, see, I wanted the chassis to be able to flex, because if that chassis is real rigid, when it goes over dips in the dirt, it's got to it's got to flop the tractor from side to side as it's, spinning away going down the track. So it's a lot better if that chassis can just flex and it don't have to whip all that weight of the motors. So I built the motors in this cradle. It was all chromoly tubing, and I'm sure that I was not the first one to ever do that. But they were in a cradle fastened at the back. So crank to crank, they were always lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
I had perfect alignment on it. And then it pivoted, this cradle that they were sitting in, pivoted in the middle so that the chassis could flex and twist. And it's like that one that Chuck Knapp won all those unlimited championships with. That thing, I made that chassis, and it has tubing across the chassis, and then it has tubing on an angle, and I could adjust that tubing. Like if I was going to be on a real tight track, I could do that chassis. I could tighten it up, make it so it don't twist so much. It'd be a little stiffer or looser or whatever it is. And that tractor was very adjustable. But
I feel like I'm talking to the Holman brothers about their turnbuckles now. This is awesome. Learning a lot.
Well, they run it enough that they've learned all these things, and that's just the way it goes. So they do good. Yep.
I want to hit you with a hypothetical. And I don't know that there's anyone else who is more qualified to answer this. Whether it's a mini, a modified, a 2-wheel drive, what it is, could it be possible to run a pulling vehicle on a percentage of nitromethane and make it live? Do you think that's something that could happen, and how much would it be to do it?
Well, I don't think it'd be very practical. And the reason it's not practical is the stuff is so volatile. Pardon?
No, there's that. It's not practical.
Stuff's dangerous. Right. Well, you figure it'd be a shaky deal. It only takes a little bit. Like the first time I ever ran nitromethane was came up with this idea of a 3-speed transmission using hooking 2 Lenco underdrives together. And I got old Leonard Abbott, who owned Lenco at the time. I got him to make this thing, which he said, he made it for me for $1,600. He said, "This is the only one I'll ever sell." Well, today they're more than 10,000. But at the time, like he said, people aren't going to do this. So I took it out and I got the thing, and he built it. It was just my idea of how to do this with these two underdrive transmissions. And I smoked the thing, I burned it up first time I ran it. So we had to work out a different way on shifting it. And he said, they had this big race in January every year at Lions Drag Strip, the Grand Premier. And he said, would you ever run this thing on nitro? Your injected funny car, it was on alcohol then. Would you ever run it on nitro? And I go, oh, I'd love to, but I don't know nothing about doing it. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, I'll buy all your tickets, buy all your nitro, whatever it takes. If you'll run that thing at Gaines or at Lions Drag Strip, because now the thing, it seems like it could be a good idea. Now that I built one, it seemed like a good thing, he said. And the only problem is, the thing got off to a bad start. It got a bad name. So I went to a guy that was a genius in, fuel system, all this stuff. And the guy's name was Pete Jackson. And I go to Pete Jackson, and he was a slide roll guy. And I go to Pete Jackson, and I go, okay, the injected nitro record is 787. And he said, you've run 803 on alcohol. But he said, we'll put that thing on nitro. He said, we'll give you enough nitro that you can go out there and qualify number one and set the national record. I go, that thing would be great to me. And so I didn't figure this out. He did it with his little slide rule. He takes his slide rule and he goes, let's say you weigh 1,800 pounds. You go whatever speed I was going at the time, and you do it with the CT. And so that means it takes this much horsepower to do that. We'll calculate this number into the whole thing. So to go there and, just kind of kick butt a little bit, he said, you need this much horsepower. And he goes, 35%. He comes up with his 35%. And then not me, I wasn't smart enough to do this, but he came up with all the nozzles and the fuel pump and all the stuff to run this thing on nitro. And 35%, I mean, it was unbelievable. That car ran so fast. Going from alcohol, what 35% nitro did to it. But I would hate to see tractor pulling go to nitro. And I look at this whole thing like when we we was building about 20 motors a year here, and guys would call and they'd go, should I buy your latest cam? And I'd tell these guys, no. If you're building a motor, you put that cam in it. To spend a bunch of money to put another cam in it, I'd tell them, just sharpen your tires different. You will go a lot further with your tires right than you will with, another 75 horsepower or something, or 100, whatever it would be. You got another 100 horsepower, won't take you as far as, getting your tires right. In pulling them, one of the most important things is tires. Probably the most important thing. There's a lot of tractors out there that can run as good as other ones, but you got to have your tires right. And, like a blown alcohol funny car, they need to have the blower, the supercharger. That is number one. That's top priority. And a top fuel dragster, probably one of the most important things there is the clutch. So everything has something that's important. And I think tires are very important in in pulling. And I think that let's see, how do you I'll give you an example about nitromethane. Nitromethane, you cannot make it do something it don't want to do. You take an alcohol motor and you can lean on that son of a gun, and it's not gonna it's not going to blow the head off of it or something. You might crack parts, you might blacken bearings and things, but a nitromethane motor, if you try and make it do something it don't want to do, it's going to blow up. It is, that's why they start them on gasoline or alcohol. You just spray it in there and you get it running on that. And once it's running on that and the piston is leaving the combustion chamber at that speed, then you can give it some nitro. But if you try and start that thing on just nitro and it's got a few drops too many in the combustion chamber, it'll blow the darn crankshaft right out of the block. I mean, it is. You can take nitromethane, put a drop on the vise, and take a hammer and hit it, and bam, it'll explode. So I don't think that. Nothing against tractor pulling. I'm not trying to criticize tractor pulling, but a bunch of guys out there, pulling with their 2-wheel drive trucks or their mini tractors or whatever, you got to really be careful with nitro. It can. Guys will go to start their motor, and if it has a load of nitro in it, it'll blow the head right off of it. I mean, clear the hell off of it, and blow the crankshaft out of the bottom of the block. But it just, I don't think it'd be a good thing.
That's fair.
I'm going to give you another example. We got time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, we do.
Here's the way it is. Like when I first started racing funny cars, I raced injected gas, alcohol, nitro, blown alcohol, AA fuel, nitro. Well, when I first started in 1970 racing funny cars, we took our cars. We had an association. We had about anywhere from 30 to 35 cars. We raced from Southern California to El Paso, Texas, and New Mexico, and we were in state of Washington and Idaho, and all over. And we could fill the stands with people would come and hang over the fences just to get a chance to see these things. And now there's been so many, it's gotten so big that probably no one would even show, there would only be a handful of people there. It's like, how's that saying go about, being down on the farm and, once you've left and you've gone to the big city life, not that many people want to go back to the farm. So once these people have seen our little alcohol or whatever, injected nitro funny cars was a big thing. But once they've seen this other thing, then they, like AA fuel funny cars, then they don't want to, they're not that interested in the cars that aren't AA fuel funny cars. They, and then you'll wind up with something like that in tractor pulling. People will spend a lot of money, and when they're all through spending all the money, they just make the sled heavier, and you're right back to where you were. So I don't know if you get what I mean here. It's like,
I totally follow you.
I wonder if everyone that might happen to be listening to this does. It's like, okay, in drag racing, you do this to your engine, and you go quicker, and you go faster. Yay, that's great. You set a record, you win a race, you do things like that. Well, we'll say that, I'll use not necessarily nitro, I'll use the timing system that six shooters, they called them.
6 shooters, yeah.
Yeah, well.
Davis technology, yep.
Yep, one day old Mike Chastain, he calls me and he goes, this is years ago, this is probably 15 years ago, he said, should we allow something like 6 shooters? And I said, well, I'll tell you what that'll do. This is just an opinion, but you allow 6 shooters, and the one guy that gets it figured out that has a 6 shooter, he's going to pull further than everyone else. Well, then the next guy's got to get it. And then first thing you know, everyone gets a 6 shooter and they go further. So what do? They add more weight to the sled. They can only go so far. So it isn't like you just keep going further and further and further. No, here they're going to add weight to you and bring you back. It's just everyone will spend a lot of money and a lot of aggravation figuring out how to make this work. And then they're going to, once everyone has it, they'll just slow them all down, just put more weight in the sled. So for, doing something like that and pulling, I mean, you're going to up the expenses big time.
Yeah, you're back to a data game and chasing tune-up.
Right. Yeah, you're starting all over, and you're going to spend a lot of money, and they're going to put weight on the sled. So, hold it back some more. Just an opinion.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I'm right there with you on that one. What I'd like to do, Ken, if we can, just I'd like to do something where we just I do like I hit with a name and just get a rapid reaction to the name and the guy and what you think of them.
Okay, well, I'm going to say one thing before you start.
Okay.
I'm absolutely terrible with names because I just don't pay enough attention. Like, I know a lot of people, I just don't know their names. Like when
they're going to be people I think you know.
Well, okay. See, here's what would happen when we were drag racing. I'd be working on my car, and here would be a sponsor come walking up. Here's Valvoline. They give me a pretty good chunk of money every year, and my wife would run up and she'd say, "How you doing, Jim Doe," or whatever, because she wouldn't want me to say the wrong thing. I might say the guy's name wrong. So you can do what you want to do, but I don't know how many of these people I'll know.
It's not the list is only 7 guys, but I think you're going to know most of them.
Okay.
And I'll start with an easy one. Daryl Gwynn.
Yeah, Daryl Gwynn. Well, here's what I think of Daryl Gwynn. Daryl Gwynn, like he says, he's never raced a car that didn't have my cylinder heads on it. But Daryl Gwynn, he was a hardworking young kid that was going to school, really put a lot into it. And I hope he doesn't see this, but he's maybe not in engines and stuff like that. He may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he's a pretty sharp guy about everything else, about business and just people. He's a smart guy, but he needed a crew chief, and he was basically the only one I ever worked for. And I have all the respect in the world for him because I could, it was absolutely terrible. We were butt kickers. A year he got hurt. Like, we just set the race before he got hurt was Gainesville, and we just set the national record and won the race. And we were really doing good. And then here he goes and has this happen to him at age, what was he, 30? 28 or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had just a touch of give up. And then he came right back and he says, we're not going to make one bad day at the drags wreck my whole life. He said, I'm just not going to let that happen. And he became pretty good at going around and talking to people and, people that had similar paralysis and things like that. And he went around and helped these people when they were really down. He would go and work with them and talk with them to try and help them. And another thing I'll say about Daryl Gwynn, I missed this because I had COVID, but Daryl Gwynn was just inducted into the International Racing Hall of Fame about 2-3 weeks ago. Same weekend as Gainesville race, but we didn't.
Yes.
My wife and I couldn't go because we had COVID, and we were getting over it, but we didn't want to go there. And Daryl's the kind of guy that he has urinary tract infections real easily. He can get those things, and he just, he's amazing that he's lived this long, because when he got paralyzed, people didn't live this long.
No.
But, I didn't want to go there and hang around all those people. And I missed going to the Gator Nationals, and I missed going to Daryl's induction, and he's a great guy. If you were looking for a friend, you couldn't do a heck of a lot better than Daryl Gwynn. That's it. Enough said on Daryl Gwynn.
Another guy I wanted to ask you about was Mike Dunn.
Mike Dunn, he is the salt of the earth. He is just, I mean, he is just the straightest. He is so good a person that when we were racing, you know, like computers are really doing a thing now. But when we were racing, they were pretty good. They were helpful, but nothing like they are now. And you know, the drivers, they don't want to ever make a mistake. They're always perfect. You know, they do good. Well, you know, Mike Dunn, if I'd say, you know, I want you to do about a 100-foot burnout, keep the RP, and see, he wouldn't use a throttle stop either. You know, he figured he don't need a throttle stop. Pardon?
That's skill. That's hard to learn.
Well, he never used the throttle stop ever. Never. Yep. And we had to put it on there because of the car owner. The car owner said we got to have a throttle stop. Well, we always made the throttle stop further away than what he would drive it. You know, he's going to hold the motor right at $7,000. He can hold the motor right at $7,000, and the throttle stop might be set for $9,000. But that's only because they wanted to have a throttle stop on the car. But he didn't use it. And if he did anything wrong, he said, geez, you know, I rode the clutch just a hair too much backing up. You know, it wasn't like, well, try and figure out why the car did this or did that. Well, if he did something wrong, he told me. And when I went to work for Gwynn's, I was only supposed to go there for 2 weeks because they were totally messed up and burning up stuff and couldn't run good. And Daryl talked me into coming back for 2 weeks, 2 races, and that would be it. Well, I wound up staying for 4 years. But I told Mike Dunn, I said, you know what? I don't know how good a driver I was, but I drove enough that I knew what my car was doing. And I said, I know I didn't do the right thing all the time. So I said, you will never hear from me one word about why did you do that? You'll never hear that. I will never say it because you knew it before I knew it. You know, you as a driver, you knew it. And he said, okay, I will never say, well, why did that car do that? You know, we just had a good thing. And he lives in Pennsylvania, and I go to Pennsylvania every year just to spend some time with Mike Dunn. Well, that's one of the things I do, is spend some time with Mike Dunn. He's just the greatest guy on earth. I hate to say it. I kind of sounded like that about Daryl, but I mean, you couldn't ask me about a better guy than Mike Dunn. I mean,
I miss him being the color guy on the TV show. I thought he did a fantastic job, and he would call a spade a spade.
Yep.
And it's lacking now that piece is missing.
Yep. He would, you know, if he thought, you know, John Force did a bad deal, well, him and John Force might be good friends, but he said it right on TV. Now, John Force he's not, you know, he didn't, he screwed that up or whatever. He wasn't afraid to say it exactly like it is.
Exactly.
Oh, that is, he's really great. Yep.
Do you remember Bill Reichert at all?
Who?
Bill Reichert, alcohol dragster guy from Michigan.
No, I remember Bill Reichert.
Reichert, yes. Excuse me, mispronounced.
Is that who you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Reichert. Sure, I knew
unfortunately
Reichert.
passed away this weekend.
He did.
He did. Yeah. Sorry to break that news to you, but yeah, he did.
Yeah. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I know that he's had this problem. But he was a good racer. Yep, he was a customer of mine for many, many years. And he was he was a good racer. He was one of the few guys that understood the car from one end to the other, which makes a bad dude, buddy. When you can do that, when you understand the chassis and the clutch and the motor and all of it, he didn't need to do what everyone else does. He knew how to figure stuff out on his own. And that he made him a damn good racer. And I'm not going to say over this broadcast what was wrong with him, but he was, physically, but he was a good guy. He was okay. Yep.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to some polling side. Joe Eder.
Joe Eder?
Yeah.
He's like my little boy. I I mean, Joe Eder, well, he's a determined person. He's one of those guys that, he may not know how to build a good motor. He may not know how to do this or how to do that, but there's probably in modified tractors, there's probably not anyone out there that can drive any better than Joe Eder. I don't know if it's all the experience he's had or what, but he is definitely top of the line as far as the driver goes. And he's not afraid to do whatever it's going to take to to do good. If he's got to do all this work to do it, he'll do all that work. He won't design a new camshaft or a different combustion chamber or something like that, but he knows exactly what his tractor's doing. It's like Mike Dunn in a top fuel car. Mike Dunn knew exactly what that car was doing at all time. Well, Joe Eder knows what to do. And he knows when it's time to give her some brake, and he knows when it's time to bring the throttle back a little bit. And yep, he is. I'll tell you how good a guy he is. Last year when I was in the hospital, after I had all those operations, then I went in the hospital last summer, and he was definitely going to be the champion in Unlimited. And he said when we were at Indy, he said to my wife and he said to Marty, Kenny Veney is going to drive my tractor at Wellington.
Yes.
Yeah. So, he's just going to have me. He just wanted me to drive that tractor. And I got on that thing and I go, I am so weak and you are so strong that I can't even open your throttle. And I went and he fiddled with the throttle. He thought he had it easier, but he is just such a bull, strong guy. And I was so weak after all that time in the hospital, I couldn't get the throttle open. So I drove it, but I didn't. Tractor. So, that's how good of friends we are. He just wanted me to be the driver of his tractor. And he's another good guy. The dang guys that I know that if you've mentioned, they're all really good at what they do in the class that they're in. They're great people. Yep. I just respect Joe Eder so much that, I built all his motors for how long? 12 years, something like that. I built all his motors. And now he's had to have someone else go through it and put rings and bearings and stuff in it because we're not doing it anymore. But he had 100% trust in me and I had a lot of trust in him because I knew he was going to do a good job. Yep. Proud to know Joe Eder. Yep.
Well, Ryan Cody, I've dominated this tonight. Sorry. You guys, anything you guys to throw in here, please do. Please.
Well, we want to hear the rest of it. You said you had 7 names. Come on now. You've only hit us with 4 or 5.
I'm like a sponge right now. I'm just trying to take it all in.
Well, we can start asking questions around the screen, guys. There's a bajillion of them. So
I got one. Ken, tell us how you met. Rona.
Okay.
Again, Ryan.
How did I meet Rona? Well, here's two people that are definitely not alike. I hate to say this. There might be kids listening to this, but the last grade I completed in school was 9th grade. And I went to when I went to California, they're just like I went there in 1959, and in 1963, I started back to school. And what they had in California was they had a school that was a normal school in the daytime. I'm going to think of the name of it in a minute. I graduated from it. University High, West Los Angeles. And then at night, there were so many people in Southern California that were from different countries, and they needed California government, or they needed this, or they needed that. They had a complete school at night. So it took me 3 years, 5 nights a week, and I finished high school. I walked across that stage with my dang goofy thing on my head and all that stuff, and got my deal. And so what had happened was, I said that because this is how deep, or how I'm not the same. Both of us are. She was going at the time. She was going to USC, and she graduated from college as a school teacher the exact same week I graduated from high school, and I'm 3.5 years older than she is. But what happened is Rona's mother was a realtor, and she lived in an apartment, and it just happened to be she drove Lincolns, and there was a guy from the town that I come from, Wadsworth, that was a Lincoln expert. He worked at the Lincoln Mercury Garage, and he was an expert on Lincolns. And when another friend that went to California with us got married, I was in the guy's, well, I guess I was best man. But anyway, I was in the guy's wedding. And after the wedding, I kind of, took this girl home that I was supposed to be with. I kind of took her home and come back, and I wanted to see this other girl. And so this guy, Johnny, he's the guy from Ohio that worked on the Lincolns. He said, our granddaughter, or our landlord, her daughter is coming here, or is here to finish her college at University of Southern California. She'd been going to a Catholic college in the South, New Orleans, where she is from. And he said, boy, you ought to meet her. You'd really like old Rona. So I went and we played cards, and I took her on a date. I had to take her younger brother with us, and all this stuff. And anyway, how she ever come about marrying me, a guy that quit school in the 9th grade and did all that. But, I was actually, a lot of my friends back here in Ohio think that, yeah, I married her and she made me go to high school. No, I was already going. I already had 1 year completed before we ever met. But anyway, we were kind of opposites. And I think when I met her, it was right after I got on the Marine Corps Reserve, and we just decided we looked at so many things that we had the same thing on. In other words, whether it's we just had a lot of the same things in common, not in education, and she'd never been to a drag race, and I didn't give a dang about teaching school, but we both looked at life about the same way, and I think we both kind of came to the realization that we look at important things in life. We look at the same way. Maybe not how we dress or how we talk or anything like that, but the very important things in life, we were on the same page. Values. That's it. My daughter just said that. Our values were basically the same thing. And when you have values as good as Rona, you got to have pretty good values. Yep. I couldn't, I don't know if I should say this because this is supposed to be a thing about Kenny Veney, but my wife is probably the best. Well, this is for sure. For sure, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. But she's about, as far as a mother and a grandmother and a wife, she's about 10 times better than I deserve. But anyway, we were opposites, and we got along good from the start. And she never went to a drag race, and the first thing you know, we were running like I had little bracket cars I'd take out to the local track and run them on the weekends and things like that. And this guy talked me into running this funny car, injecting on gas, where, kind of funny cars were just really getting a good start. And my wife went all the time, and she had a good time. And like all these different things I won that was kind of like popularity stuff. I figured it was because I raced a Chevy car with a Chevy engine, and I had a 115-pound wife that looked good in a pair of shorts. Not because of me. They didn't even know me. They never seen me. I was always in the car. But they seen my wife, and they came back for a second look usually. And I better end talking about Rona right there.
Yep. Well said. Well said.
Hey, Ken, is Rona in the room?
Yes, she is.
Is she watching?
No, she can't watch really, but you can't see anything.
No, I'm just listening.
Nah, she's just been listening. We were afraid to
come
put
on,
the
Rona,
computer.
get on camera for just a second. Say hi.
You see yourself there?
Hello.
There she is.
There she
How
is.
Yeah, we've been
We're
married
great. How
58
are you?
years. 59 is coming June.
What day? What day is your anniversary?
What happened? Charles froze and they froze.
Well, that's terrible.
I know.
It's all my fault.
I feel like it's Charles because Charles froze.
Ken and Rona have officially broken the internet.
Well, that too.
Well, Ken broke every record on a track. I guess, breaking the internet is just par for the course.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you're at his level of excellence.
And with and a wife that looks like that, apparently, because that's what happened. She came on the screen and broke the internet.
Well, there's a lot of questions. Like, I'm glad you asked that, Ryan. There's a lot of questions in the comments, like, how's Rona? Where's Rona? So I don't know. Do I kick them off and let them? Nope, they're cycling. It's a good sign. There's Charles. So we're going to kick off.
Sorry, I got flat out locked out. I don't know what happened.
I've never seen it do that before, Charles.
Yeah, total kill. That I don't know what happened.
Well, anyway, we had our good son who used to write for National Dragster and, always wrote about his dad. And then we have our beautiful daughter who's a big help to us. And she's the one that does all this technical stuff. She has 4 children. So we're really happy. So thank you for letting me be on. And I'm done. Thank you. Goodbye.
Our daughter has 4 kids that all graduated. They've all graduated from college now. And our son, who's
That's
married,
awesome.
but they just never had any kids. And he raced an alcohol funny too for quite a few years.
Yeah, Todd did, right?
That's Todd. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's all about me.
Let's get into some questions here, Charles. I'm gonna put them on the screen and you run with them, okay, bud?
Oh boy, here we go.
Can you still read, Charles? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Oh, I got nervous. I saw a black switch. That was Ryan.
Yeah, it was me.
Vertical. Take it, Ryan. Take it, Charles.
The stair step became the Kentuckian, correct? And then what? Well, that didn't have anything to do with you.
Couldn't understand that.
The Kentuckian tractor was always the Sullivans. That didn't have anything to do with you.
He just you're talking about when he thanked me when he won the pole down there in Louisville.
Well, I'm going off what Colin Burkholtz posted in the comments, and the 2 tractors, they don't have anything to do with one another, other than you guys both had the hoods on.
Oh no, actually they had a hood long before I did.
Right,
they had a hood on a tractor years and years ago, and I'd say we're pretty good friends. He used all my equipment, and I mean, they're great people. The whole Sullivan clan is great people. Yep. but it's just a see, when I built my first tractor, it was a modified tractor, and I thought, this is a lot like a funny car. A funny car is a bunch of tubing welded together with a fiberglass body on it that looks like something. So that's how we decided we're going to have a funny farm all. So I was always a farm all guy anyway, as a kid growing up on the farm. And that's why I wanted my tractor to look a little bit like a car. I know how important it was when I had dragsters and when I had funny cars. The funny cars, they were always more popular in those days anyway. They were always more popular because people could associate with them. If you had a Mustang body,
Yes.
the Ford people loved it. And, there was an association there. So I decided when I built my first tractor, it's going to look like a tractor. And, it's going to resemble a tractor. And that's why I put that, a 1066, that was always a popular tractor. And you want to know another reason I use 1060?
Yes.
You want to know why my heads have 1066 on them?
Yes, I do, because I've seen 1066 and 806 heads. I want to hear that story.
Here's the thing. Like in about 2002 or something like that, you could get a block with the lifter board spread further apart. So that means where the push rods come up through the head could be further apart. Well, I moved my push rod, I made my head so that my push on my end, the cylinder head end, it was out further too. But the problem was going to be if a guy bought a set of heads, found them used or whatever, he bought these heads and he goes to put these new heads with a spread lifter bores, which is what they're called. If he wanted to put those on a regular block, they wouldn't fit, and it would be, Veney, that son of a gun, the goddamn parts don't line up. What the hell? How'd they mess this up? So I said, what we got to do is one other time. Well, I got to go back a little. It was about 20 years ago. I sold my head business to SSI, and they screwed the combustion chamber up, didn't make it the right shape. And they had Veney and SSI on them. So when someone would call and they'd say, I got a set of your SSIs, then we knew that they had to have this piston because we had to make a different piston for that head. So I said, what we're going to do here is we're going to designate a name to these heads. It'll have a Veney Industries or whatever on it. It'll have a Veney name on the end of it, but it's got to have another thing on it so they can be identified. So I said, how about if we, the 1066, International Case IH or whatever they were called then, it's got a great big wide grill and flat, and I could get a big fuel tank in back of it. We'll use a 1066 type grill, and then we'll put 1066 on the heads. And knowing drag racers real well and getting to know tractor pullers a little bit, I said, a drag racer calls up and he'll say, I got a pair of 1066s. And if a tractor puller calls up, he'll go, I got a pair of your 1066s. We'll even know if it's a tractor puller or a drag racer. And I'll tell you what, it's worked perfect.
So what was the difference between the 1066 and the 806 head?
Well, the 806, see, I made the 1066. I believe that, like they have bigger ports and bigger valves and spread valves further apart and things like that. And there was people, like Brian Knox, he liked a 2500 head. So I made a 2500 head, and we called those 806s because the 806 didn't make nearly as much power as the 1066. So just between us, for me, that head never made the power that the 1066 made. So we just gave it a little bit weaker name, and no one ever knew that I really had in mind they're going to be down on power. There's guys that use and go get. They run fine, but I believe a big old blower and you compare that the two cylinder heads, the as long as you got enough blower to go with it, they just work fine. You know, that's why they're good in two-wheel drive truck, like Russ Nichols and, you know, people like that, Chad Haggerty and Seacrest. You know, these people, they do good because they got big blowers on them. And the unlimited guys do extremely good with them because they got the big blower, and the big blower goes with the big head and the big cam and all this stuff. So, but we kept making 806s in like the 1066 is really, that's really well, you figure Seacrest won two-wheel drive last year. He had 1066s. And Joe Eder, he had 1066s. And I mean, that's all I ever used since I made them. Who's the other? Oh, Brett Berg. Brett Berg only had the two 500s. But anyway, that's that story.
Awesome.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's awesome. I had that on my list too, and you answered it. Wonderful.
Okay.
Charles, you see that one?
What was some Jim Subi? Sorry, I might be butchering your name. Wanted to know about the time you stretched tires on the Unlimited.
Who's this?
Subi.
Subi.
What?
Well, I'll tell you a Jim Subi story. So I buy a set of tires, and they weren't maybe a set. I'm not sure. You know, they maybe, I don't know what was. Anyway, I got these tires, and Nichols, you know, cut them for me and did all that. And the first time I ran them was what the hell? Toma. First time I ran them was Toma, and that thing absolutely would not go straight. It turned to the left, I guess it was. I mean, immediately, as soon as I get in the throttle, that thing was going to the left. And I parked it on the left side of the track and headed it right over at the other side. And buddy, it come right around. So this is when I learned a big difference between tractor pullers and me, or tractor pullers and drag racers. Someone said, I go, geez, I got to do something with these tires. You know, that's impossible. My tractor goes straight, and here it is going, just keeps turning to the left. And I said, it's like that right tire's got a lot more traction than the left. And these guys, these tractor pullers said, well, just lay the tread back a little bit on that right tire. And I said, that's impossible. I got a tire that works better than anything. I got to figure out how to get a tire on the left that works better than anything. You can't weaken one so it'll go straight. You got to make the weak side better. And so then I told old Jim Subi, you know what I would do if this was, well, I come home and I aired these tires up 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 pounds. And at 4 pounds, they were the same. But as I kept going up in air pressure, I'd go up 4 pounds and then measure the tires. Well, the one tire wasn't growing. And I said, we got to make that one tire grow. And I said, tomorrow, see, Subi went to church, you know, where we went, to the Catholic church here. And Subi sat right in front of me all the time. And I said, you know, I'm going to take those tires that I ran at Toma last week. I said, it's going to be 90 degrees out tomorrow. I'm going to lay them out in the sun all day, just like it was a drag racing tire, trying to get it to stretch a little bit. And he goes, no, don't do that. He said, I'll check and see. You know, he worked for Firestone in you know, about 12 miles from where we live. And he goes, I'll see if the oven is available. We'll put that tire in the oven. We'll put air in it, just like you're going to do. And we'll heat that tire up, only we'll make it more sophisticated than you laying it out in a 90-degree sun. And so he did that to my tire, and then he heated the tire up. And I went over and picked it up and put it on, and it worked fine. But the point was, the drag racer would try to make the weak tire as good as the best tire. The tractor puller wanted to lay the treads back so they'd both be equal. Well, like my buddy Hebe that worked for me for 42 years. And before that, he used to go to the races with me. He goes, I mean, he wasn't there, but he said, I know that there's no way that you can back that thing down because they taught that today. You didn't go to school and you never learned how to back anything down. So, yeah, I missed that day. I missed that day at school. So we never back anything down. We got to figure out, and my theory is always make as much power as you can make. Maybe you can't use it on the whole track, but there's somewhere that you can use that power there and figure out how to, make it weaker in the couple spots that it don't work as good. Don't make your tractor weak from starting line to finish line because it spins the tires too much here or whatever. Like you want to make as much power as you can where it hooks it up. So figure out driving it or whatever you got to do to make it so it'll hook up all the time. Just use all the power you can make, only don't back it down. Figure out how to use it. Anyway, that's a Subi story. He fixed my tire for me.
Yeah, thank you for that.
That
question. That was a great
question.
That was a great question.
Great question.
I want to ask you one do you have a story about the Bartoni brothers?
The Bartone brothers?
Yeah.
You're saying Bartone?
Yeah. Yep.
The one that Steve Boggs tunes?
Yep.
I don't have any story about them. Bartone? Nah, I don't have any. They were just really good racers, had plenty of money. And they were good racers, and they had one of the best alcohol crew chiefs ever in Steve Boggs, and they had a good crew chief. And they didn't like when I was racing, they weren't competitive yet, but they became very competitive. Yep, they're out there kicking butt. Yep,
fair enough.
That's all I know. I really don't know much about them. They were New Yorkers. New York City, and I just never really, they came along more or less after I was out of the alcohol racing.
Fair enough.
That's all I know about them. You got another one?
When you stepped away from the drag racing and went over to the pulling side, you had some time with the minis back in the early, I want to say it was early 80s, but how much of a transition was that for you?
I had a mini in 1994.
Okay, it was 94. Okay.
Yeah, 94. What happened was I bought a single engine tractor just because we wanted to go play. The guys here at the shop, we all worked on the thing in those days. I wanted to go pulling, and an old Sandman had his Chevy powered tractor that he pulled once that had one engine. So I bought that thing for peanuts or whatever, and it had a Chevy with a power glide transmission. I put a Hemi and a Sage transmission in it, and away we went. And just had it, us guys here at the shop had a little fun with it. And Brad Knox goes, you know what you need is you need a mini where you can go and just make power and just do it, just get after it and have a good time. So I bought a chassis from, like I said, I never built a mini, so I don't really know that much about them. But anyway, I bought a chassis from Roger Weissong, and I put a motor on it, which would be pretty close to the same motor that these guys are running now, which was way to hell more power than they had in 1994. And I went to Toma, and a local guy that was going up there with his two-wheel drive truck, he hauled my tractor up there for me because I didn't have any way of getting it there. And so they're pulling minis, and my little mini had never even been started because we got to Toma and we went to start it, and we bent the brackets. It copped, puffed, and it tweaked the starter bracket. So I ran all around Toma trying to get some metal to fix this thing. And they're already running minis, And I got Brian Knox over there to help me start the thing. And we started and go over the scales and get in line. And I go up there to make my first run. And I went like 280 feet or 70 or something like that. And they said, "Oh, you need to put a gear in it. You could use a lot more power." And I said, "Well, I can make more power." They go, "Oh no, you need to put a gear in it." Well, they didn't know when I said I could put some more power in it, how much more power I could put in it. And I didn't know how much changing this gear was going to make a difference. And I go out there and I get in the throttle, and that son of a gun, it wanted to go 100 miles an hour, and it just twisted the screws in the wheel and spun the tire right off the rim. And I went over and I ran it right in a concrete barrier. So that was my first deal with a Mini. And then we pulled that thing that year, but there was only 7 pulls that I could go to. And I said, this is no fun. We counted up what we could do with ATPA, NTPA in Ohio State and a little brush pulling. We had 58 pulls we could go to in Ohio. I decided, let's build a modified. So that's when I built that modified. But in 95, Daryl Gwynn got me to go. It was only going to be a 2-motor tractor. And then Daryl Gwynn got me to go to work for him, tuning his crew chief in his top fuel car. And so I did that to the end of 99. And by then they changed it. They had 3 motors. And so I added a 3rd motor to it. Then first it was just 2 motors in that cradle. And I put the 3rd motor on it. And so we pulled that while I was, we'd go to the, like said, fly in from Denver and get in here on Monday night or something. I'd say, they got a pull here Tuesday, we'll go. So we'd take that tractor and we'd go somewhere on Tuesday and go pull them. And so while I was being a crew chief, and I'd be gone from say Thursday till the next Monday night or Tuesday morning. Then I'd come home and we'd play with the tractor. And so we did that. And then after we had the Mopar thing went away, and then we had the New York Yankees. And I did that for a while. And so then I just started pulling all the time. And I was really having a good time. And my wife loved my 3-motor tractor. To her, that's the greatest thing on earth. I had the side panels and made a hood that come up to the steering that kind of looked like a 1066. And then I had the grill off of, that I'd made out of billet aluminum for the front end. And she just loved my old 3-motor tractor. We run that. And
the triple was gorgeous. No doubting. Triple was gorgeous.
So I have a follow-up question. Ken.
Okay.
Does Rona ever wanted to drive either on the drag strip or down the track, the pulling track? So I guess it's maybe a little bit directed for her sitting there, but has she ever, you or her can answer that, I guess.
Oh, he's asking if you ever wanted.
No, I never wanted to drive.
No way in hell was she going to get on anything. No, she just loves, like she drove the funny car back a little bit, towing it back to the pit. She did that a little bit. But boy, this tractor come along and she just loves driving that tractor back. That is, when that motor's not running, she just loves being on that tractor. Yep.
That's
yes,
great.
Rona loves that, but she's not going to drive it. Nope. So that answers that question. No. Hello, anyone home?
Yep, we're still
Yep.
here.
Well,
okay.
Ken, we've taken up so much of your time tonight, and I thank you so much for being so generous with what you've given us.
Yeah.
We're down to our final question, and we leave it to Ryan to ask it. And Ryan, go right ahead, please.
All right, Ken. So if you could take any tractor that wasn't yours, any pulling vehicle from any time period in history, and you could go and pull it somewhere, what would you take and where would you pull it and why?
Today?
Yep.
Today, I would I'd take Chuck Knapp's tractor. Yep. Probably because I built the chassis.
Well, I was going to say that kind of is your old tractor, is it not?
Yep. That's my old tractor. I ran it 1 year in unlimited and one the unlimited thing. I ran it 2 years. The first year I ran a little that ATPA or whatever it was in PPL. I don't even whatever it was, and I ran some with 3 motors on the tractor. Run NTPA a little bit, and I just did a bunch of different things with it. I think I pulled unlimited with it a couple times, maybe. Yeah, I did. And then the year that we won the points, that's all we did is we run NTPA points, for the championship thing. And Joe Eder's tractor actually has 2 frame rails that I had built, but he built the tractor complete. I just had the frame rails made, and they look the same to anyone that looks at them, but that whole tractor, like Chuck Knapp has, that thing is so different. Like usually engines are, I think a common thing is like 43 inches center to center. And like I built that thing at 33 inches. I made wooden motor mounts and, laid it all out so I could figure out how I could get the valve covers off and how I could get the headers in it and everything. But that thing, the engines are real close. It should be about as straight a tractor as there is. Chuck has made changes to it because when I pulled it, I didn't have as much power as they have today, but I didn't have as good a tire. So it was just about an equal thing. And when they come along and they come along with 1871s and better motors, you get a little more power and then you get a little better tire, he would have trouble keeping the front end down. So he has changed it to where, he's changed everything around the front end to try and get the engines out further. But I would like that tractor. I'd like that tractor. Got the hiccups here. I would like that tractor because I built the chassis. Is the only reason. I think it's a pretty good tractor, and I think it'd be fun to drive something like Rod and Knox used to drive, or the Banner brothers. Where they just had engines hanging all over them. I think that would really be neat. But just like Rod and Knox's tractor that they won the points with, their 4 motors. Today the 3 motors make more power, or they had 6 motors, and the 4 motors make way more power than they made with 6, just because they didn't have they just didn't have racing, really high performance parts. And but it'd be fun to drive something that had a lot of engines on it because they look neat. But I think.
Hey, Rona.
I think that stuff like
so if anybody's watching from the Wayne Purser camp,
yes,
can we put something together where Mr. Veney gets to ride on whatever you're cooking up with what you got going on there, Wayne Purser, please?
I'll text him in the morning.
Please get a hold of us. And you know what? The same goes for Chuck Knapp. Chuck, would you reach out if that might be something that you would consider? That'd be a heck of a cool opportunity for us and for Ken and for everybody else.
Rona, I'm going to put a picture on the screen. Can you tell me about this picture? Okay.
To drive their tractors you're talking about? They need to drive their own tractor.
We're going to line that up, Ken.
Yes, to drive their tractors, whether it's Wayne or Chuck. Yes.
Oh, Rona? I'd love it. I think it'd be great. But the thing is, they need theirs. They need to be running their tractors to get the points. They're running in the points.
You're a pretty good driver, though, Ken.
We kind of promote an event where we can kind of make things happen. So
I'll text Purser.
We can make that happen outside points races.
I used to
And
pull
heck,
against
even
Mercer all the
inside
time.
and even inside points races, Ken, you're a pretty darn good driver, and you've shown that on how many hundreds of occasions?
I don't know. I don't know about being a good.
You're
I
too
don't know about.
modest. You
You were way too modest, sir.
Too modest. All right. I got to ask Rona a question, okay, guys? Rona,
Okay.
tell me about this picture I'm going to
Yes?
put on the screen. Tell me about this picture I'm putting on the screen right now.
That's at the Spring Nationals at Columbus in '76. I'm
Tell me
telling
what's
that
happening
Miss
in that
Winston.
picture, Rona.
I'm telling Miss Winston, you take your hands off my man. And then they have Kenny won that race, and the next race was the Summer Nationals, and it's the same thing. And I'm telling that girl, now listen, you keep your hands off of him, you hear? Because I'm joking, you know.
Oh, yeah.
She's hugging and kissing on
See,
it.
You're not joking.
There's a little family. There's a family picture where we lived out in Torrance, California.
That's
Got
awesome.
my little 7.
And that's the family
little-
truckster, right?
Yep.
I love it.
That was a good old. That was Chevrolet Power Jet. That was the last year I ran a Chevy, 1974.
Did you work on the car in that garage too? Then
Did I what?
Did you work
did
on
you
that
work on the
car
car
in
in
the
the
garage?
garage?
Oh yeah, yeah. The car was always in the garage. I had the 1974. I still had the Goodyear tire store, but I didn't take my car to. I never worked on my car at work because I don't want. You know, it's like I might be over there fiddling with it. I needed to wait till I got home to go to work on that car. But that garage actually had both of my cars in there. That one that Armstrong drove at the Winter Nationals, and that car, and I worked on both of them in that little 2-car garage. In the little
Wow.
2-car garage, you see the little blonde Cocker Spaniel there? The blonde Cocker Spaniel was not allowed in the garage. Everyone always got a kick out of this, but that blonde Cocker Spaniel discovered that if she put her head inside there was a walk-through door to go into the house also. It only went into the backyard. If that dog put its head in just the right place and dropped that ball, it'd roll into the garage. And someone in the garage would throw it out in the yard. She'd go chase it, bring it back, and just drop it in the exact right spot so it would hit and roll into the garage. That was our little Cocker Spaniel there.
Oh, Bonnie, baby.
Well, Ken, good
Yep.
luck this weekend in
Yes, sir.
Louisville at the Mack Trailer Winter Nationals.
Yes.
We're hoping you win. We're hoping you win. So
Well, you know what? There's 13 other guys that are hoping too.
yeah, but
See, I'll tell you
we
what,
like you more.
and these 13 guys, these guys that are going to be there, it's like every one of them has an equal chance. You know, like there's some really good, well, probably the best tractors around are going to be there, and whoever wins is going to be doing a good job, and there's going to be a little luck involved. Yep.
I like it.
Hey, Ken, how long has it been
has-
since you pulled in Freedom Hall?
Oh,
We haven't been allowed because they don't have many, so it's been since
well, they know that. Let's see. When we had the model 2008, I think it was 2008 was the last time we pulled in there because yep. So it's been quite a while. 15 years or something.
Well, from what we hear, the track
remember.
hasn't changed much. It's going to try and hook you to the left.
Yes.
It's going to try.
Hey,
I see a lot of them doing that.
Real quick, Jason.
Well, I've done a lot of work to my tractor. I've done a lot of work to it to try and keep it from pulling to the left. Pulling to the left is a normal thing. That's because the way the front end comes up and takes a load off of this, and the unit drives that, and all that stuff, and I've got it where I can usually make a full run and not ever touch a brake. Yep. I don't know about there.
As many guys go, you have been the smoothest. I can't think of a run that you've ever made that was wild. You have really done that.
Oh,
You've got to check it out.
I had a couple.
Yeah,
I
I'm
had
sure
a
you
couple.
did.
I usually I figure smooth is a way to win. You know, consistent, and I mean, it's a way to win the points. You know, just finishing good. You know, you don't have to win every day in pull, but anyway, the whole thing's fun, and there wouldn't be a cold day in hell when I would go to the poll nowadays and wouldn't try and win. Yep.
That's the way to do it.
The fun of just going isn't there anymore. It's like they want me to put that extra tubes in my chassis. Yeah, NTPA, they've anyway for this roll deal, and it's like there's no way in hell at 80, going to be 83 next month. I got my tractor all together, and when I find out in middle of February, I got to put those tubes in there. There's no way in hell I'm going to take my tractor all apart, take it to a chassis shop, and have that done to my chassis. It's just not going to happen. And I can't do it myself anymore since I lost that one eye. I can't for about 2 years now. I just had the one eye, and I can't weld good. So there's no way that I want to take my stuff apart and go do that. You know, I like NTPA, but I'm too old to be taking that thing all apart and doing that. It's my opinion. Yep. Anyway.
Perfect.
Been good.
Thank you, Ken, so much for doing this tonight.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Taking the time. Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks for giving me the chance. And I don't even know why did I decide to do this? I don't usually
We've
do
heard so
things
many
like
pullers
this.
tell us that.
Marty.
Oh. Oh, Marty said, I guess I did it because Marty, you know, I go, I don't want to talk on there. And Marty said, you know, they had such good reviews the last time you did it. That, you know, that's why they're asking you to do it again. And so I decided, well, if they thought it was okay, we'll do it. Anyway,
major thanks to Marty for convincing you.
Yeah, we appreciate that very, very much.
Well, you guys come by and say hello to us next time you come to a poll that we're at, okay?
You bet we will.
Yep. That's
we're gonna hunt you guys down.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.
That was awesome.
Holy shit.
I thought that comment with Paul's comment there that says that cars NOA again for sale, restored, ready to run would be an interesting one that
trying to get my Uncle Paul to come on. I don't know if he's got good. He lives in Tulsa, and he has a lot of Ken stories and a lot of stuff, so it's neat. So it's funny, Charles, when your internet froze, Ken and Rona's froze at the exact same time, and you guys are just
so
stuck
something
there.
happened.
No, and right now, like people are texting me pictures of their screens, and it's still showing the 2 black squares, and on my screen it's perfect. Bruce, what do you see?
I see the 2 black squares.
So I've been trying. So I can kick them off. You know, I can kick that other person off the stream, and it won't let me. So something goofy happened tonight. So I don't know what it is.
Is it on Charles's side though?
No, it's Charles.
No, I don't think so, because at the
Charles
same
and
time
Ken
that those
both.
2 froze,
Yeah,
mine gave me a message saying your internet is unstable.
Hey, if my shit got froze with Ken Veney's, dude, win. I'm good with it. That's awesome.
Bingo.
If I'm going to be frozen online with somebody, I want to be frozen online with that guy.
You had like the perfect frozen like moment.
you did.
It was like an album
sweet.
cover.
I even wore my Ken Veney t-shirt to that. So that was awesome. That was awesome.
We're already 2 hours deep into this, which it's funny today, and I want to wrap this up pretty quick tonight because we all got big days tomorrow. But Terry, Ken's daughter, helped me. About noon, I said, "Hey, let's just do a test.
Yes,
I want to make sure you guys are comfortable." And that's why I was so bummed out when the internet did take a crap on him tonight. But he started talking at noon today, and I couldn't wait. I sent you guys a picture, in our little private chat of talking to him.
And saw that. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and awesome. He's such a good guy. He's so genuine about all that.
Yeah.
What you saw it wasn't performance. That's him.
No, that's the real Ken Veney.
Yeah, no. Well, Marty, I think Marty's still watching. He's been texting me all night. Thank you so much,
Thank
Marty.
you, Marty. Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
We didn't have to, if you asked a question tonight, we're sorry, but you heard Ken's stories. I mean, that was the easiest interview Charles has ever done in his life.
Yeah.
But Charles
and I knew it was coming because I've talked to him before. I wanted to let him go, just tell those stories and, expose all of you to what he is and what he's done. And it's beyond pulling. It goes deep into the drag racing side too. And you need to understand where the guy came from to understand where he is now. And, he did such a great job of elucidating that. And I knew he would. So, and thank you to you guys as a panel for allowing him that freedom to do that. I don't know. It was awesome.
Jeff, I don't think they have any more t-shirts. Somebody's been asking that earlier. Marty commented.
Yeah, I've got one. Sale. I don't know. Yeah, I've got one. I don't know if they were going to do any more.
Yeah. But he is competing, you guys. So the Mack Trailer Winter Nationals are this Saturday. You can buy tickets online. They are pulling the same way as Louisville. Go to Ticketmaster. Ticket sales, I talked to the promoter today, and she said, or the marketing gal, and she said tickets are about right where they were last year. And they had a huge walk-up, so they really want to fill this thing up. So Mike Connie, $10,000 to win, $25,000 per class. Like I said, $10,000 to win, and he's donating all the proceeds back to Make-A-Wish. So it's great for our sport because Matt's is a Mid-America truck show, largest truck show, obviously, in the States. And it's a nice crossover. And if you watch our show every Monday night, we talked about, that's probably not our normal pulling fan, but they're getting exposed to the sport. Starts at 5. It's not a super long show. What, guys, 54 classes, right?
Yes.
I think the biggest class is the mini rods, right, guys? I think there was 13, Ken said tonight.
Yeah.
The full list is out there on the NTPA website. I like that, Brian Heder. I love this comment about he hasn't taken his tractor apart because of an NTPA stupid rule. I didn't even know about this rule, so I feel bad for him. So he got invited, he got voted into the Pullers Championship, but he turned it down. So, but he is going to make. I don't know if he didn't think at the time he'd be ready or not, but I was really hoping we get up there. So, yeah.
Does anybody know what his plans are for this coming summer? I mean,
Marty, if you're still watching, it's really, really limited, you guys. He's getting up there, obviously, in age. You can tell. I didn't know he had the one eye deal going on. So I think he's just taking it kind of easy, Roos. So
that's the vision thing's a problem. Yep. And I'm not gonna say too much or speak out of turn, but it's a thing for him. So the knowledge and the intelligence is there certainly, and the skill and the seat of the pants feel to be able to drive is there. It just what can he do to travel and that's a thing. And I get it.
Marty sorry, Charles.
Yeah.
Marty just texted me and said he's going to play it by ear based upon how he feels. So it's going to kind of how he's feeling this year, recovering from the cancer.
If we could get him there, 100%. Yeah, like I'm not talking out of turn. I don't think for the TPC crew, if we can get 100%. Him there, we are gonna say yes.
I don't know.
And along those same lines, Marty, if we can make him feel really, really good about coming to Rockwell one last time, we would love that.
Yes, 1,000% on that one as well.
Is Rona the first official backup girl in truck and tractor pulling, or was there somebody that did that before?
If there's no one else who is, we're going to say that she is because she's awesome.
And we're going to say that she's the best at it ever as well.
I don't know the new rule.
And that will be the end of the argument.
Yeah, I don't know the new rule for the mini rods, guys. If somebody's still watching, it's 8 o'clock out at Robbie's house. It's 11 o'clock at Charles's house. And Ken and Rona stayed up late with us tonight. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Robbie, I think it's something about an extra cross member in the roll cage or something like that. I don't know exactly what it is either.
Sounds like you want to stay close to home is what I'm reading in the comments, guys. So lucky for the Ohioans, they get to see Mr. Veney often. So I love Mark Ham says I cherish his blower belt on my wall.
I remember that.
Is that Rockwell?
Yeah, I believe so.
That'd be a keepsake.
How much is a blower belt these days? I heard $400 or $500. Does that sound right?
The last I knew, one of these were expensive. I get to it.
Although
it's
when they're shredded, they're worth all of about a quarter.
Yep.
Unless that's Ken Veney's.
Charles is digging for one right now.
Might bring a little bit more.
Around $280. One's a RCD, Kevlar impregnated. They're about $280.
Oh, Ham got it in Hutchinson. Uncle Paul says $385.
Yeah, that's probably.
Boy, some of you guys need to find a better supplier.
Inflation, probably right.
Mrs. Ken's daughter Terry, who helped us line up, helped us with all the technology, says $350 to $400. So that's straight from Ken's mouth.
Yeah, probably right.
Kevlar belt, $400. I think that's Eric Pruitt. I think he's watching on one of the groups tonight. He had a lot of the comments earlier. I went and go looking for who that was. So
that's probably right.
Hey, Terry, by the way, thank you so much for helping tonight and persevering with us. We really appreciate that. That means a lot to us.
Yes, thank you.
Ken should sell shredded belts and have people buy them. Terry says ours are bigger and cost a little more, $280. Got it. My pleasure. It was fun. Yeah, thank you so much, Terry. That was you made all of our nights on that. So
yeah.
I do want to play the so full pull bets went out, interviewed Mike Connie. I played it at the beginning of the show. I want to play that video again, and they're releasing the full video this Wednesday. This is well done by that video crew. Really, really good. And Mike Connie is a very cool dude, and what he's doing this weekend. Please support that poll, guys. If you can't be there, the live stream is at watchtpa.tv, guys. I haven't checked yet. I'm sorry. I'm assuming because I don't think there is it ntpapoll.tv. I bet it's ntpapoll.tv for the live stream. So here's the just a teaser video, and the full video is going to get dropped Wednesday.
Mike, are we allowed to look at this? We're here today in Alliance, Ohio. We'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Mr. Connie himself, his business, his pulling team, and most importantly, talk about his upcoming event, the Mack Winter Nationals, April 1st in Louisville, Kentucky. My name is Chase Richardson. I'm working with the team at Full Pull Bets.
And so we decided to take the top 5 from NTPA, top 5 from PPL, and bring those together for the largest payout. Winner takes all. And we're looking forward to packing the stadium and raising some money for Make-A-Wish.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Full Pull Bets.
I'm all in. I'm 100% in. And I think this is one of the best things that ever happened to Portland.
We're going to hit you with the diesel burning questions. Mike Connie's in a pull-off with one other vehicle. Who is the one guy Mike Connie does not want to see in a pull-off?
Okay, super stock. I would put my money on.
Join us as we take a dive into the world of Mike Connie.
Thank you, buddy.
Carlton Cope is who we picked in the Pro Stock class. Just for us that are still watching, I figured if you could stay up this late with us, I could give you a little sneak peek on that. But it was funny to hear Connie say that. So that's his winner for Saturday. So it's kind of cool. But that video, he's got a 10-minute video coming out. They did a whole shop tour and stuff. It's awesome. So Adam says, solid choice of pulling clips there, if I say so myself. I wonder who got those pulling clips over to them. Maybe Adam Wilson. So
it was Tiffany, don't worry.
It was Tiffany. What else, guys?
That's it for me.
That was awesome. Charles, great job tonight. You're the man. Ken was awesome. That was so good.
Ken was awesome. I was not. Ken was awesome.
You're our resident nerd when it comes to motors and stuff. So
Ken was awesome, not me. Ken was awesome.
Well, you were good. Okay, Charles, you were good. So.
But let's be clear, Rona was probably every bit as good, if not the best, because everybody loves Rona.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rona's awesomer than anything because Rona.
Paul Schultz, Uncle Paul says, whoever gets the Veney vet gets a legend, and don't think I haven't looked at it. So.
The Veney vet isn't really that rare. It's the Veney Vega that you want.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I know where that is. So bring your pocketbook to get it because somebody in Canada has it.
The Veney Vega?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Shout out to Ryan Anderson and his family. They lost Dave.
Thank you.
I got an email from them last week looking for some pictures. I didn't have a ton, and I forgot to forward it on to Ryan. I'll see if I can get that dug up still. And then also Larry Roberts' dad died. I saw that. Two legends.
Yes, he did. That sucks.
And he lived in Ocala. I think that's where Larry's other brother. I don't know Larry's brother's name, but I know he lives in Ocala as well.
The family, the horse farm was down there. Yeah, it's not good. Sad thing for the Roberts family, of course.
So, anyway, please support the Mack Trailer Winter Nationals this Saturday, April 1st. Again, if you can't be there, I'm sure it's ntpa.tv. I'll look it up. I'll be posting that up a lot this week as well. We are less than 2 months away from the Pullers Championship. Brent Yarn's working on a promo video right now. We all got to start hammering that. The pull in Louisiana had a lot of pullers at it. I saw that. That was the first PPL pull of the year. You're going to start seeing a lot of pulls coming up, guys, really in May for sure. We're going to do Thunder by the Colorado. That's going to be our first live stream, our official live stream at beermoneypulling.tv. So I'm excited for that. That's Cody and Ryan. That's Whitey and Cole's pull. Side checks.
Yep.
Down there. So Columbus, Texas, we're going down to that. And then we're going to, I think we're doing the Hanson Sullivan Memorial Pull the following week. And then that's right before our Pullers Championship. I think we're doing 2 live streams back to back. So I still got to nail down the details on the Hanson Sullivan pull, but going to roll out our beermoneypulling.tv. So I'm excited for that. Okay. Everybody's looking at me with that blank stare on their face. Thank you for watching tonight, Ryan. It was one of our top 5 shows, just so you know.
No, that was not top 5.
I fully
that was number 1.
That was
number
you don't
1.
need to beat around the bush about that, and I wouldn't give you any shit for it.
No, numbers wise, guys. So
number 1.
It was
only Ken frickin' Veney.
The Pullers Championship, you guys. No, seriously, nobody's been within half of the Pullers Championship tonight. We rolled out this year's invite list. That was huge. So that was huge. I always love saying to you, Roos, because that night I was drinking in Florida and I attempted to do the show when we had Burge and
so we remember. Pepper Ridge Farms remembers.
I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't know how many times you said this is one of the best shows you've ever had." So
don't worry. Don't worry. The 3 of us that are shown on the screen and Colin Burkholz will never, ever, ever let you forget it.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I will guarantee it.
I have a lot of fans. That say, "Oh, that night that's kind of funny," and you're trying to be sober and you think you are, but you're just not. You're just not. Fireball it runs up and goes smacks you around a little bit. So. Yep.
So we can blame this on the Bunkelman girls.
Well,
in a very roundabout way.
That's a boomerang on that fireball shot.
That's a big boomerang.
Yeah, but I'll do it just because I haven't given them any good-natured crap lately.
What do you guys this summer? Like, I don't know. I mean, we obviously have the Polish Championship coming up. What's the summer like looking like for you guys, Charles? Like, what are you pumped about?
It's not pulling related. Do you want to hear about it?
Of course I do. You're my friend.
We're gonna see diesel drag racing records lowered big time. There's pro mod shit coming. There's pro street shit coming. We're gonna see numbers and speeds that are just unbelievable. It's a straight up learning curve right now with what is going on that side of the sport, and I cannot believe what is on tap. We've already got 3-second runs, and we've got guys and girls who are going to do way better than that in 2023. So it's not on the pulling side; it's on the drag racing side. It's going to get stupid.
Is it just all air and fuel, just like tractor pulling?
It's not. It's no one thing. It is the ability to control it. It's using Motec systems where you're standalone, where you're controlling the fuel, you're controlling the air, you're controlling the nitrous application, you're controlling the torque converter. I really feel like diesel is now in the stone ages of what the gas guys have known for the last 20 years. We're starting to learn stuff that they knew 20 years ago, and it's about how to go fast. And Ryan Milliken is on the forefront of this at X275 with the radial racing with his Nova powered by a Cummins. He backdoors better than anybody, runs trap speeds better than anybody, but it doesn't front side that fast. And that's
what's that mean, Charles? What's front side mean?
He doesn't 60 foot.
60
quick.
foot.
Yeah, 60 foot's not quick. The 330 is not quick. What it does is it's not quick off the line. It's not a drag car that's quick off the line. But once it gets moving off the backside, all that diesel horsepower really makes it scream out the back door. The trap speed's faster than anything an X275 goes, and it just runs. The system in radial racing tries to he's running X275, so there's a index, so to speak, that he's trying to run to. Not a hard number. It's fast out the back door, but slow on the front door. They try to equivalize that sort of racing where he would probably get some sort of penalty for being so fast on the backside and try to slow him down out the back door, but not penalize him on the front side and try to run, do that, create a sort of index in a sense around the low 40 seconds. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they come up with it. He's not opposed to it. He doesn't care. He's like, just come at me. I'm doing what I do. Let's just find it. So, that car's going to be out there. His shop's going to bring out a C7 Corvette Pro Mod. Probably not for Rudy's. That will come for UCC, and the Fire Punk guys are going to have their Pro Mod from Reese Brothers same weekend. We're going to do some stupid shit, but
Charles, when's UCC?
First weekend in June.
Okay. I'm going to be in Monette, Missouri. So for the first Outlaw Hook, I was hoping to make that UCC thing. They moved it back a little bit, right? So
yeah, because it used to be in May. Last weekend in May, wasn't it? Right.
Yeah, it had been. Sled pulling track's going to move. We cannot be in the oval. NASCAR has lease on that property, so the sled pull track is going to move back over by the drag strip. Don't know what that's going to look like yet, but
Well, while we were interviewing Ken, Brent finished up the Pullers Championship video. So if we're all done, I'm going to play this for everybody.
play that shit. Let's go.
Play that funky music, white boy.
Bang, bang, won't stop till we're legend.
Yeah, we just decided to give you the soundtrack version first.
You can't hear the sound?
We can hear the sound.
We can hear the sound. We cannot see.
It's giving us a little spool thing that.
Charles, can you see it?
Yes, and I can hear the sound, and it kicks ass. Great job, Brent.
I was going to say, you Iowans.
Wow, poopy.
Adam Wilson, did you see the video and hear it?
It's really good. It's on the Pullers Championships Facebook page. I'm not sure what that is, Charles.
Wait, what happened?
Hi.
We went all of a sudden Chinatown, like.
Oh, that's a Facebook ad. Yeah. Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that was good. I saw that. That was good.
Cool. Guys, great show. Ken Veney, thank you. Thank you for everybody watching tonight. Hey, and I haven't thanked you guys last week for Dave Schreier. That was cool. Thank you for being there. And that was weird not seeing your guys' faces. Just sitting there, and I was like talking to a camera, and it worked out good. So, yeah, that's all I got. Peace out, homies.
I thought it was funny. Every time we asked a question of Dave, it was like he was, what? The voice of God is asking a question.
Well,
couldn't kind of figure out what was going on.
We had our mics on, but the only sound I had from you guys was coming from the phone that we had set up so I could hear questions, because Dave's internet at home wasn't very good. We had his laptop set up behind him so I could see it, but it just wasn't working there. So, yep, lives just outside of Toma, and the internet hasn't gotten out there yet. So,
awesome job. Thank you, guys.
Weird how Colin can watch.
What's that?
I said it's weird. How Colin can watch.
He's got Starlink.
He gets up for work like at 3 a.m. and he always tells me to call me when I'm in the Toma area. So I called him at 10:30 that night. He didn't answer. So he called me the next day and says, "Schultz, you knew better than that." I'm like, "Hey, you always tell me to call." So
awesome. Thank you,
all right, guys. Have a good night.
So much. What a wonderful job.
Yep. Thank you, Ken Veney. Thank you, Marty Wilson. Thank you,
Very much so.
So.
See you guys.
All right. Peace out, homies.
All right, kids. Later on.
See you guys.
See you.
KawasakiPartsWarehouse.com. Right, Charles?
Mike, are we allowed to look at this? We're here today in Alliance, Ohio. We'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Mr. Connie himself, his business, his pulling team, and most importantly, talk about his upcoming event, the Mack Winter Nationals, April 1st in Louisville, Kentucky. My name is Chase Richardson. I'm working with the team at Full Pull Bets.
And so we decided to take the top 5 from NTPA, top 5 from PPL, and bring those together for the largest payout. The winner takes all. And we're looking forward to packing the stadium and raising some money for Make-A-Wish.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Full Pull Bets.
I'm all in. I'm 100% in. And I think this is one of the best things that ever happened to pulling.
We're going to hit you with the diesel burning questions. Mike Connie's in a pull-off with one other vehicle. Who is the one guy Mike Connie does not want to see in a pull-off?
Okay, super stock. I would put my money on.
Join us as we take a dive into the world of Mike Connie.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night.